Hey, today I'm going to be cleaning an empty house and it has Olefin Berber all throughout. You know, Olefin Berber has its own little nuances. There's several little things that you have to be really careful of to do a fantastic job. Two of those are, one is snags and another one is browning. I'm going to make sure that those don't become a problem to you, and I'm going to show you all those nuances. You know, Berber carpet actually originated in North Africa, Morocco mainly. And it was actually the Berber tribes who actually hand wove wool carpets. And these type of carpets would actually practically last forever. They were designed to last for generations after generations. But unfortunately, big corporation got a hold of it and they came out with what's called planned obsolescence. So they went ahead and they copied the original loop design, but they didn't copy the performance, which you're going to see. Instead of wool, now we have olefin. You know, it's critical that you set the expectation levels ahead of time properly, especially with Olefin Berber, because it mats easily. It holds soil and it shows wear. Why does it mat easily? Because it has a very low resilience, so it doesn't rebound or spring back up into position after a short period of time. Number two, it holds soil. That's because it hates water and it loves oil, has an affinity for oils because it basically is polypropylene. Number three, why does it wear so easy? Because it abrades very easily. Matter of fact, in my pocket, I'll go ahead and keep a piece of plastic, which is basically just a wand glass right there, and I'll abrade part of it so I can show the customer how clear it looks here compared to here. As a matter of fact, when I'm doing the walkthrough and I'm educating the client, even though this is an empty home, they're not here. If they were here, I'm going to let them know two illustrations. I'll pick one of the two. One will be wrinkles. If you wash your face and you have wrinkles, you're still going to have wrinkles. There's nothing to do about that. Or I like to use one with soda bottles. Soda bottles, you can squeeze them, they basically come back to shape. But if you crush them, they're only going to come back a little bit. And if you run them with a car, they ain't coming back. And some homes are just thrashed, and you need to let the customer know that ahead of time, because if you don't, they're going to hold you responsible at the end of the job. You know, you probably noticed on all my videos, I always stress how important it is to pre-vacuum. But I want to tell you what, it's even more important when it comes to Olefin Berber carpet. Why is that? Remember I said at the beginning, there's two main problems or nuances that you run into with Berber carpet, especially olefin. Well, number one is snags, and number two is browning or wicking. All right, let's talk about snags. Well, if you're pre-vacuuming, you'll see some loops that have come loose and sticking up. And if your vacuum cleaner or your rotary later on or anything you're working with gets a hold of it and pulls it, it'll run all the way down through the carpet. And guess who they're going to hold responsible? You. So make sure that you have your duckbill scissors on hand. When you're vacuuming, be very careful and go ahead and clip all those. Number two is browning. So basically what you're doing is you're removing as much dry particulate soil as possible. Remember, Berber loop traps soil. Think of it like little cups, and these little cups are all filled with soil and sand and grit and stuff. So by removing that dry soil, you get a more efficient clean, and it prevents, or at least prevents, wicking and browning. But I'm going to show you a couple other tips that help with that also. All right, now let's talk about chemistry. This is really important, especially when it comes to Olefin Berber, because like I said, it has an affinity for oils and it hates water. So what am I going to do? Well, I generally exercise one of two options, depending on the home. I let the soil type make the determination. One is a moderate pH, and a second one is a high pH. Now, if the house has a lot of organic soiling and urine and things of that nature and food spills, then I'm going to go with the moderate pH, and I'm going to boost it with a pure O2 type of powder. If it's a job that's just heavily soiled with a lot of oils and grease and tractant and stuff like that, well then I'm probably going to use my black label, but I'm going to boost it with either some Frog or some Grout Master, as a matter of fact. Okay, so I let the home soiling determine what I'm going to be using, and that really makes a huge difference. Now, what I'm going to do is take my inline sprayer, 4 to 1. I'm going to probably put 4 scoops of the black label in there. I'm going to put 2 scoops of the Pure O2. What's nice about the Pure O2 is it has 2 different main ingredients in it. One is a powdered peroxide, and number 2 is citrusol. And citrusol really helps break the oils down inside of olefin carpets. But if you use too much citrusol, and I've seen people use the glug method, they end up not being able to get it out of there. The carpets resolve faster, and you look like a zero instead of a hero. So this is totally mixed just right. Plus it has the peroxide in it, so it gives it that final pop and helps it keep from resoiling. Let's get started. Hey, pro tip, when it comes to rinses, you really want to make sure that you pick the right one. Because if you're using that hot mix that I was talking about, which is a very high pH, then you want to go with a very low acidic rinse, and I recommend our RSF acidic rinse powder. Plus it has a sweet breeze smell in it, so it really smells good. Now if it's just moderate soil, what I'll be working with, there's nothing wrong with going ultimate fiber rinse, and that'll take care of every other job, and it'll definitely help with some of the odors and the organic soiling. Okay, now we got all of our products mixed together, and now it's time to apply it. And it's really important, as always, to make sure you apply it nice and evenly. You never want to over wet it. Because remember, Berber, especially olefin, hates water, but it loves oils. So you want to let the chemistry do the heavy lifting. Now, never let your pre-spray dry. Why is that? Because if your pre-spray dries, then it stops working. So you want to make sure you only do a few areas at a time. Personally, me, I like to do 3 areas at a time. Then I'm going to take the time, and I'm going to go ahead and pre-agitate the carpet. And my machine of choice, usually, if not always, is the CRB, a counter-rotating brush machine. Then let the chemistry and the agitation break loose those oils and those soils. It'll suspend it nice and neatly, and then it's ready for extraction. Okay, now it's time to extract. Now what I basically do is I like to take the time and lower my PSI somewhere around 300 to 400 PSI instead of my normal 500. A lot of guys clean just 304 PSI. However, I run 300-foot live reels. So basically I get a pressure drop anyway. Okay, I'm going to take the time and I'm going to overlap all my strokes. Why do I do that? It's basically kind of like washing it twice or cleaning it twice in the customer's mind. I like to tell the customer, it's kind of like washing your hair twice. So you're basically getting a double cleaning throughout the whole house. They love that. So nice slow passes. I'm not in a hurry. I've got my heat set around 220 degrees. Can probably net me somewhere around 200 degrees at the wand. You don't need super high heat. The chemist is basically doing your work. I'm going to do a lot of ample dry strokes. And of course I am cleaning backwards for demonstration purposes here. If you want to clean back up one more time like that, I don't see a problem with it. It's totally up to you. It depends on the soil level to me. And then I'll take the time and I'm going to dry stroke and I'm going to overlap my dry strokes also. And I'm not in a hurry, never in a hurry. So look how good the carpet's looking. Then I'll cut my ceiling fan on. And I've got 2 more tricks I want to show you. Let's take a look at those now. Pro tip when you're doing a walkthrough, make sure that there's no hidden closets. What do I mean by that? This is the master bedroom. And you can't even see a closet in here. All you see is the bathroom, right? However, if you walk in here and you open the door, yeah, cut the light on, and what do you have? The hidden closet. So make sure you take care of those. Or you'll be hating life because you got to come back later. Okay, pro tip. I like to take some fresh blocks. Even though the customer's not here, I know the customer and the realtor's coming back later. I'm going to wear gloves, because if you don't, this stuff will be on your hands for the rest of the day. I'll open this bin here and I'll drop one in there if the house smells okay. If it smells like urine or dogs or has some type of funky odor from foods or something like that, I'll drop 2 of them down inside there. So all I do, slide this out, open it with the scissors, pop this open, drop it right down in there, close it up, and it'll smell divine later. Okay, here's my final tips. What I like to do, first of all, is I want to make sure the environment's just right. I'm going to go ahead and set my HVAC system accordingly, depending on the time of year that it is. I'm also going to use ceiling fans to my advantage, of course, after I'm done cleaning, because I want my pre-spray to dry. On top of it, I got my air mover here. You notice I've got a towel there, and I'll wipe up any areas that might be damp or something like that to avoid trip and fall. Of course, I've warned the customers ahead of time. Empty house, don't have to worry about it as much right here. However, here's my final step. I like to take the time and post bonnet. I love the post bonnet. This way I'm getting off any little bit of extra moisture, soil, or detergent residue. That's why I like to take the time and I make sure that my filters are clean in my truck and stuff like that. So I want everything performing at optimal results. That way I don't get any returns, redos, because they kill the 3 R's I always talk about: repeats, reviews, and referrals. That's what it's all about. Do a fantastic job. Customers continue to come back to you. I'm Rob Allen. Remember, I operate off the law of reciprocity. I believe will help you become successful by training videos like this right here. You'll help me become successful. From TMF, have yourself a great day.